Have you ever felt like you're hitting a wall, whether it's at work, in the gym, or in your personal life? Do you ever wonder if these limits are real, or if they're just illusions created by your mind? What if I told you that the boundaries you think are holding you back are actually self-imposed? Let's take a look at David Goggins, a man who has redefined what it means to push beyond limits. Goggins is a former Navy SEAL, ultra-endurance athlete, and the author of Can't Hurt Me. His journey from a difficult childhood to becoming one of the toughest men on the planet is nothing short of a miracle. Today, David Goggins is one of the most famous and respected figures on the planet. Known for his mental coaching, motivational seminars, and appearances on popular podcasts, Goggins has become a symbol of resilience and determination for many aspiring athletes and individuals seeking to push beyond their limits. Unlike many celebrities, his fame is ruthlessly earned through unimaginable hardship and relentless effort. Behind the seemingly flashy life of a motivational icon lies a mind that is unbelievably calloused, making him arguably the toughest guy in this day and age. Goggins' journey to mastering his mind is anything but easy. David Goggins grew up as the son of Goggins, a wealthy but extremely greedy and abusive man. He would often beat David and his mother for the smallest mistakes. David's mother, though loving, was terrified of his father, who would sometimes import ropes specifically to whip her. Unable to withstand Tronus's treatment, she eventually decided to leave. Without hesitation, David grabbed his bags and went with her. The struggle didn't end there. David and his mother faced numerous challenges after leaving. They ultimately moved to Brazil, Indiana, to his grandma's home. Enrolled in a predominantly white school, David felt out of place and inferior, particularly due to difficulties in reading and learning new things, which led to relentless bullying from his peers. Combining the trauma of an abusive childhood, being raised by a single mother, moving to a place where he was the only one of his kind, and facing constant bullying, David Goggins was, on paper, born to be a failure. This is why he named the first chapter of his book, I Should Have Been a Statistic. Despite all these obstacles, Goggins defied the odds and transformed himself into the great David Goggins we know and admire today. Throughout his life, he has developed a set of powerful tools and concepts that have helped him end up where he is. In his book, he shares his approach to mental toughness, offering us valuable lessons on how to push beyond our limits and reach our full potential. We'll go through these tools one by one, exploring how each can be applied to our day-to-day lives. After joining the Navy SEALs, David Goggins faced one of the most grueling tests of physical and mental endurance, Hell Week. This period of extreme physical hardship and sleep deprivation lasts an entire week. During Hell Week, recruits are pushed to their absolute limits through tasks like running, swimming, carrying boats, and undergoing constant physical exertion with very little sleep. Goggins' first attempt at Hell Week was cut short due to double pneumonia, which he caught from staying in the ocean for long hours in extremely low temperatures. He was pulled out of the training and had to start Hell Week from day one with the next class. Despite not being fully recovered, Goggins had gained valuable experience and decided to lead his team through the brutal training. One memorable moment occurred during the middle of second Hell Week, the peak of pain and exhaustion. During a boat raise exercise, the instructors were relaxing and enjoying the torment of the recruits. Goggins, not liking the mockery from the instructors, decided to do something about it. He turned to his crew members and motivated them by saying that they were hard motherfuckers who wouldn't accept being mocked, even by their instructors. He urged them to step up and show their strength. Despite being extremely exhausted, the whole team found a surge of motivation. They raised the boat and threw it down several times right in front of the instructors, who were making fun of how the guys were unable to move. This action had two significant effects. It embarrassed the instructors by trivializing the difficulty of the training, and it alleviated the team's pain and raised their spirits. This moment was the birth of the concept of taking souls. Taking souls is about finding your own reserve power and riding a second wind. To implement this concept, there are only two requirements: knowing why you are fighting so you can stay in the fight whenever you doubt yourself, and giving your absolute best when you feel at your absolute lowest. When you are exhausted and feel like quitting, that is when you should go harder than ever before. By doing this, you not only overcome the challenge, but also demoralize those who doubt you, proving that you are stronger than they ever imagined. One of the most intense challenges David Goggins faced was a 100-mile race that had to be completed in 24 hours. Goggins, known for his incredible endurance, underestimated the difficulty of this race. He had a grueling training session with one of his former instructors the night before the race, which caused him extreme exhaustion even before the race begins. As the race progressed, Goggins found himself in deep trouble. 60 miles in, he was exhausted beyond belief, barely able to move, and completely unsure of how he could possibly carry on. on. It was in this moment of utter despair that a childhood memory surfaced, a memory of his mother's cookie jar. When Goggins was a child, his mother always kept a cookies jar in the house, so whenever he felt low or sad, he would reach into it and grab a cookie. During the race, this memory merged with his intense experiences from Navy SEAL training, especially Hell Week. He envisioned an imaginary cookies jar, but instead of cookies, it was filled with all the significant accomplishments he had achieved up to that point. As he reflected on this imaginary cookie jar, filled with his past victories, he found a renewed source of strength. Comparing his previous accomplishments to the current challenge, he realized that he had already overcome greater obstacles. This gave him the motivation to push through the remaining miles of the race. This is the concept of the cookie jar. Whenever Goggins faces a new challenge and feels exhausted, he looks into his imaginary cookie jar. By comparing his previous accomplishments with the current challenge, he gains encouragement and strength. The harder and more significant the accomplishments in your cookie jar, the more effective it becomes. Goggins emphasizes this by saying, "Only when I push beyond pain and suffering am I capable of accomplishing more." After completing the 100-mile race, which was a requirement for him to enter the Badwater ultramarathon, David Goggins was physically shattered. He could barely move and was in excruciating pain for an entire month. Despite this, when he sent his 100-mile accomplishment to the Badwater recruiter, the response was less than impressed. The recruiter encouraged Goggins to participate in more challenging races to bolster his resume, with the Badwater race less than 4 months away. But how could he do that when he could barely move? During this time, Goggins, his wife, and his mom planned to be part of the San Diego one-day race. The morning before the race, Goggins attempted to run a bit, but could only manage a quarter mile before stopping. He decided to let his wife run the next day and be content with being a cheerleader. However, on the day of the marathon, something clicked when he saw people running. He described it as a Navy SEAL calling. They are supposed to run on broken legs and fractured feet, so he took off his bandages and joined the race. Initially, he felt agony in the first quarter mile, but he pushed through. After finishing the race, Goggins sat down at the finish line and thought, "What am I capable of?" Minutes ago, he could barely move, and now he had just finished a marathon. He realized that people leave a lot of potential untapped. Most individuals only push themselves so far before giving up. He identified a part of the mind he named the governor, which tells us to quit to avoid pain or stress and sets our limits. Based on his experiences, Goggins estimates that this limit is set at about 40% of our true capacities. This realization led Goggins to coin the term the 40% rule. According to this rule, when you feel like you've reached your limit, you're actually only at 40% of your true potential. To get beyond this limit, you need to get rid of the governor, which is, in a way, yourself. This battle is internal, and the only way to win it is to make chasing pain a full-time job. Beating your governor and creating a new identity is an extremely difficult task that requires immense hours of training to rise to the expectations. By continuously challenging yourself and embracing discomfort, you can break free from self-imposed limitations and achieve extraordinary feats. David Goggins' life and teachings encapsulate an extraordinary journey from hardship to triumph. His autobiography chronicles his transformation from a troubled youth in an abusive home to becoming a Navy SEAL and ultramarathon runner. Goggins challenges conventional thinking about talent, emphasizing the power of relentless effort and mental resilience over innate abilities. He advocates for embracing discomfort, confronting personal weaknesses, and pushing through pain to achieve peak performance. His story inspires millions throughout the world, and I happen to be one of them. Since I've read this book, I began to see hardship in a completely different light. It became something to be enjoyed and trivialized. A feeling hard to believe if you haven't read the book, so read it and savor the experience. And if you're unable to, I really don't know what to tell you. After all, I'm just a layman sharing his thoughts. Until next time.